Now that you've learned how to hold the hook and the yarn, join me in this video and I'll teach you to make the slip knot and the chains. Here we have the yarn. I like to start with my tail on the right and my working yarn coming from the ball or the skein on my left. And I take the tail to make my slip knot and I make a loop. So the tail is over top of the working yarn. Then I put the tail under the loop and I pull it through, but I don't let go of the tail because if I let go of the tail, it'll get pulled through. This is how to make a slip knot. The tail should adjust the slip knot and it's placed on the hook. Let me make that for you again. Take the tail, make a little loop, pull the tail through the loop, but not all the way. Grab both of the tail and the working yarn and pull the loop. Then you can adjust the loop with the tail and place it on the hook. So now that we have the slip knot, let's go on to making the chain. You've already seen different ways of holding the hook and the yarn in my previous video. So the next thing is to learn to do a chain. That's the basic beginning part of any project that you're crocheting. So you have your hook in your dominant hand and your yarn in your non-dominant hand. I like to have about this much space between them. And I like to give myself 4 to 8 inches, with 6 inches being kind of an average on my tail. That will leave me enough to weave in. A lot of people I see only give themselves an inch or 2, and that doesn't give you enough tail to weave in at the end of your project. So make sure you have a nice long tail. So to do your chain, you're going to hold the tail with your yarn hand. You're going to take your hook and go around the loop, your strand of yarn between your hook and your finger. This is called a yarn over. You see how it goes over the top of the hook. You don't want to go under the hook. You want to go over the hook. So when a pattern says yarn over, this is what it's talking about. In order for me to pull this strand of yarn through my loop on the hook, I have to rotate the hook down towards the bottom, which is slightly larger to get it through. And I don't want this loop on the hook to be too tight or too loose. So I rotate the hook and I pull it down and through. I do not want to tighten the loop that I just pulled it through, but I want to take this loop and I want to slide it down to this working area of the hook. This is what gives you the size of loops that you're going to have. So now we have one chain. Let's do it again. We will yarn over, and I can either use my hook to do this or I can use my yarn hand to get the yarn over the hook. And I almost have too much yarn here, so I'm going to reposition my yarn. So I have my yarn over, and I'm going to rotate my hook. And if this is a little too tight, you can always make it bigger before you pull your chain through. So I yarn over, rotate my hook. I can pull up a little bit on my hook, or I can pull down a little bit with my yarn hand to adjust that loop. I don't want to make it too big, but I don't want it too tight. So after I've rotated, I can pull it through and slide it down. Now we have 2 chains. Let's do it again. I'm going to move my fingers up because as this chain gets longer, we need to have our yarn hand closer to the hook. So we will do another yarn over, rotate the hook, pull up a little bit to make that chain a little bit bigger, and pull it through. Now we have 3 chains. Let me teach you how to count the chains. This is the slip knot right here, that little bump at the bottom. We have 1 chain, 2 chains, 3 chains. The loop on the hook is not a chain. So we have 3 chains right now. This is the front of the chains. You'll notice that there's a sideways V going on with them. You have this loop at the top and this loop at the bottom on each chain. This is the back of the chain and there are bumps on here. Sometimes in a pattern you will work into these bumps, but it's usually the front of the chain. So let's do another few chains. We do our yarn over, pull up a little bit so that it's not too small, rotate our hook and pull through. Do another one, yarn over, rotate the hook and pull through. Now this is where you're going to actually practice the hold of your hook, whether you're doing the pencil hold or the knife hold, and the hold of your yarn. This is not my typical hold, but I will try to do a chain this way. It's not comfortable for me, but it is for a lot of crocheters. So I can do it, but I'm much more comfortable with the knife hold that I prefer. So we yarn over and pull through. Let's look at our chains again and count them, because I've lost count. Have you? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chains. We don't count the loop on the hook and we don't count the slip knot. So what we want to achieve here with our chains, when we practice, is we want our chains to be even. We don't want to have some tight ones. Here's a tight one, and I'm barely getting the hook through. We don't want to have little ones and big ones. We don't want to have some like this, some like this. That's not even. So our goal in doing our chains is to have them even. The chains have to be big enough so that when we work a stitch into them, we can get the hook in. On some of these tighter ones, it's a little bit more difficult to get the hook in. So I want you to practice making chains and make them nice and even and see if you can get your hook in there. That's a test. Now that you've learned how to hold the hook and the yarn, make the slip knot and the chains, and you're comfortable with this, meet me in my next video where I'll teach you to do the single crochet. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching and happy crocheting to all of you. Learned how to hold the hook and blah, blah, blah.
I need another drink.
Oh my.